Everyone, welcome to this week's edition of the Carvel Community Meeting. Today's date is May 12th, 2022. If you're tuning in from home, watching this as a recording, we do encourage you to come join us live. We meet every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. It's a great opportunity for you to come and meet the maintainers, other members of the community, hear what we're working on, provide any feedback. If there's anything you need help with for Carvel or have a feature request or an idea to propose to the team, it's a good way for you to come and join us live and have that discussion among everybody here, including other community members. If you aren't able to join these meetings, if they somehow just don't work out for you, there's still other ways for you to reach out to us. We can be found in the Carvel channel and the Kubernetes Slack workspace. You can email us. You can find us in GitHub, of course, in any of our project repos. You can find us on Twitter at Carvel_dev. So any of those channels, you can come find us. We're happy to connect with you in any way that works best for you. At any point, whenever you're interacting with us or any other members of the community, we do ask that you read and abide by our code of conduct, which is linked here, and it points out to our repo. For those that are using any of the Carvel tools, we would like to know more about how you're using Carvel. So we created this pinned issue, and it just asks you to provide a bit more information about how you use it, about your organization, links to your website, anything that you wish to share, as well as including the logo to your organization, which is optional, but we would love to have it so we can feature it on our adopters file here. Just a great way for us to know more about how folks are using it, help us develop the tools better. And also when we showcase folks on the adopters page, it shows who all is using it as well. Just kind of helps the community understand more. And we just would like to showcase kind of a cross promotion there. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out to us. Everybody that's on the call today, please add your name and any organization that you are representing to attendee list right here. On to announcements. We are not meeting next week. So we're skipping next week, which would be May 19th. So no meeting on May 19th. Due to KubeCon, we're going to be traveling. Members of the community are going to be at KubeCon, so it just makes sense for us to skip next week. So we'll see you the following week, which I believe is May 26th. So we'll see you May 26th for our next meeting. For those that are attending KubeCon, we would like to provide an informal way for you to come meet us. There's no pressure. We just want to come say hi, get to know you, just hang out for a little bit. So we'll be having lunch together on May 20th, which is a Friday. It is the last day of the conference, but hopefully it'll just be like a nice way to decompress together. And the lunch at KubeCon, they start at 12:30 Central European Standard Time. That we'll have to get our lunches and then find a space to sit. Once we find our space to sit, we will tweet out a photo of our smiling faces and our location on Twitter, and we'll also post that in the Kubernetes Slack channel. And I just saw that I put the Talented Community Edition channel, which is incorrect. We are not there. We are in the Carvel channel. I am the community manager for Carvel, or for Talented Community Edition, so I think I copied and pasted from their agenda because we're doing a similar thing there as well. So be sure to keep up to date, keep look out for those updates on where we're going to be sitting so that we can hang out and get to know each other. And then formally, there is going to be a workshop at the VMware booth centered around getting started with Carvel. Our dev advocacy team is going to be doing that workshop. I think it's going to be an unhosted workshop, so it's going to be on the laptops there, and you're able to go and get on the laptops to use to start that workshop on your own with folks there helping out. And as soon as we have more details of what that looks like, I'll put these here. I'll put them in the Slack channel as well, so folks can be prepared. The other thing that's happening at VM or at KubeCon that sort of relates to us is I am giving a talk on Thursday on May 19th, talking about what the heck I actually do as a community manager, since I know it's a role that many people don't quite understand, but I assure you it's a quite valuable role for open source projects. So if you're interested in having a community manager for your project, or wondering if your project could find value out of it, myself and Karen Chu, who's a community manager of Helm, will be delivering this talk, talking about all the stuff that we do for our projects. So you can attend that in person, and it's also going to be posted virtually as well. So if you aren't able to attend in person, there's still an opportunity to attend live in a virtual setting. And then outside of what we're going to be doing, I do want to do a shout out to a member of the community who is doing a talk at GitOpsCon on Tuesday, May 17th. He is doing a lightning talk on how Carvel Suite and Cluster API can bring GitOps to your Kubernetes infrastructure. So if you're attending GitOpsCon, or if you're attending KubeCon and don't have that colo added, you could add that colo to your registration and attend that talk. But huge thanks to Pietro and for doing that talk. I plan on going to the talk myself and giving some swag love of Carvel shirts and whatnot, but looking forward to meeting you. Next up on announcements, kind of a big deal here. KubeCon, CloudAmCon North America CFP closes May 27th, which is in roughly 2 weeks. So for those that are in the community and want to maybe talk about any of the Carvel tools, we would love to know more about like what you're thinking. You can reach out to us. Maybe we can do some collaboration, have a co-speaker from Carvel participate. For the maintainers that are on this call today, just a little nudge to start thinking about, not start, but hopefully you've already started thinking about what talks you're going to be doing at KubeCon North America and what you want to submit to. So if you have any questions, feel free to DM me in the Kubernetes Slack workspace in the Carvel channel, or find me on GitHub, or email us, anything like that. Happy to hear from you on that. Any questions on any of this stuff that I just talked about before we move on? Okay. On to releases. Image package 0.29. Do we have Joel on the call?
I guess we do.
Go for it.
Yeah. So sorry about that. You're all excited about KubeCon and so on, but we need to talk a little bit about image package as well. So yesterday we were able to release the new version of image package. The biggest thing here was, to be fair, it's like the last one that is in that list. Strangely, so like from version 0.26, one of our flags, the registry insecure flag, stopped working. That would allow you to talk to a registry that doesn't support HTTPS. So what this version fixes it, and also like brings other things with it. There is like a correction of like some text, some help text that was done on that bug there, and that was done by one of the members of our community. If you scroll down, you can see him, our Vic Marbev. It's Victor. Thanks for the help with that pull request. So now we have our texts are correct and make much more sense So thank you for that. We also added a little bit of a like a second part of a feature that was to allow when you're pulling a bundle, that to make sure that the permissions are correct. Like there was a part that was missing. It was the parent folder that was not being set. The permissions was not being set correctly. So now this is like the second part of that feature. It should be all good. So if you are using it to do an image package pull, now your permissions should be the same as the permission of the user that created the bundle itself. So if you have like a read and write permissions, then the files that when you pull them, they should have read and write for user, group, and all. So that's that. The other thing that you'd like to call out is Ben Moss. Our friend Ben Moss was very helpful. Like I spent 2 days trying to release image package, and I was not able to until he came in and helped me solve the release process. So thank you, Ben, for it. Like we bumped to Golang 1.18, and apparently Golang 1.18 has a nice quirk. That is, when you build a binary, now it stores information about your version system. So if for some reason you're building your application and you have like a dirty Git tree, you get like a false on one of the fields that are incorporated in your binary that says that you had like a dirty tree. So we were having some problems with our release process because we were creating a file where we shouldn't, and that was causing a problem. It was making the release dirty, and it was like the SHAs were not matching with what we expected. So we might, just like an FYI for the other tools, we might have exactly the same issue for the other tools if we move to 1.18 that we should look into. Okay, I think that's it. Sorry for the big time here, but that was image package. Over and out to you, Nancy.
Thanks, Joel. Any questions or comments regarding this release? Once, twice. All right. Moving on to status updates. Anything regarding the project roadmap discussed?
I don't have any updates this week.
Okay, on to stuff that's being worked on this week. YTT.
Yeah, so that first issue there is one that we picked up at the beginning of this week, and that is to add the keyword arguments when and when null skip. The value for when would be a function that would run on the value of the node that it annotates and decide whether or not we should run the validation based on that conditional stored within the when clause or the when keyword. And then the when null skip is pretty self-explanatory, but when the value is null, we would skip the validation that is attached to.
Yep. Then the next one is some ongoing work around the ability to, in an emergency, be able to disable validations if something's not working right and you need to push forward. Want to make sure that at the end of the day you have control over that. So that's what that issue is about. And then another one, just another external contribution group is helping us with implementing, being able to cancel a YTT invocation midstream. This is in order to thwart any kind of, if there's an accidental infinite loop or a malicious one, or in any way an attempt to take computing resources, there's a way to just stop the whole thing while you're in a situation where you're integrating with YTT as a Go module. So that's in flight and will be coming at some point.
Okay, any questions or comments regarding these items for YTT? On to CAP. Who wants to talk about?
I can talk about it. So in CAP, besides other issues that we are working, one interesting problem that we are trying to solve is with regards to how status is handled when we try to apply changes. Right now, the rebase rule has been modified to say that the existing status on the cluster should be always applied. That means when we compare the new status from the configuration that we have and the existing status from the cluster for the particular resource, and we compare that, we just say copy whatever is there from the status and apply it back to the, if there is a diff, apply it back to the cluster. So this is something which we are trying to see whether we really need to do this, because the status is something which is managed by the cluster, the controller. We don't need to do anything there ourselves. We should not be applying it. So instead of having it as a copy, copying it, we should be actually removing it from our apply strategy, and that is what we are trying to resolve. And this has actually given rise to a bug, and we are trying to see that we can solve it by removing status altogether from apply. So how has this come? How is this affecting the use case? Is that there was a configuration at a particular version, a CRD at a particular version, which was at V1. The user wanted to upgrade the configuration to V2, in which the CRD, the status field is at a different level in the configuration. When it is, I think it was earlier array, and now they have changed in the CRD, they have changed it to a map. Now, because of this rebase rule that we have, where we try to apply back the existing CRD, it says the version does not support that particular status in that field. So that's the bug that has come out of this issue. So we'll try to fix that also, along with resolving the status field. That's about CAP.
Renu, any questions, comments regarding this? Okay. Moving on to image package.
Moving back to image package. So I think there are some letters missing on that text, but basically what we've been working on the last couple of days in between trying to do releases and so on was to allow image package to copy all cosine artifacts that exist as part of a bundle from one registry to another. So currently you can copy signatures. It already does that for you, but we're changing it a little bit, and it will allow you to copy SBOMs and add attestations as well with just a single flag. So that's what we're doing, and we're planning to get that in somewhere before the next release, so that then if you have any kind of artifacts that are cosine owned that are part of your bundle, they will be copied for you. So that's what we've been working on.
Good stuff. Thanks, Joelle. Any questions for Joelle on image package? Okay. Moving on to discussion topics. What's required to ensure an environment variable is set for an installation of kapp-controller? Experimenting minds want to know. Who?
Yeah, that's my item.
Okay.
Wow, it seemed like a cogent sentence when I was writing it. Hey, kapp-controller folks. So in YTT land, we're introducing this environment variable called YTT experiments. And when you can set a comma separated string to that variable. And each of the items in that string is a feature that is not yet generally available. It's experimental code. And we thought it would be really cool to be able to allow kapp-controller users to turn on experiments in general, but within YTT. So we wanted to kind of check in with the group and see if there's any work we need to do to plumb through an environment variable. So that's the mechanism by which YTT will note that there is a feature that needs to be turned on, experiment that needs to be turned on. And so I was wondering if anybody on the call knew whether or not, A, that's already a supported pathway that we just need to learn how to instruct our users when we're asking them to kick the tires, or is there something we need to do in order to make that work? So I'm wondering if anybody has a beat on that.
It should work already by just setting on the deployment the env field on the deployment, and you can give it a key and value of what the environment variable is and what the value is. That's just raw Kubernetes, and it'll expose the environment variable to the pods within, to all the pods within that deployment.
So this is the deployment of the kapp-controller?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that
Right?
typically
that would
how?
be kapp-controller wide. That would be cluster wide, that setting. But yes,
Right, right.
obviously. But you can set any environment variable at the deployment level, just in the deployment spec itself.
I see. Okay. So you'd grab the deployment that is sort of the standard way to install kapp-controller, and you'd edit that yourself and put in the environment variable on the deployment in a standard Kubernetes
Or you'd
way.
let YTT do it with a YTT overlay. But yeah. Which is
Or
what
write
I
it.
guess I'll be doing, considering that my kapp-controllers are deployed as packages. So
Ah, yeah. So yeah, you want to toss that in a secret, don't you? And
I
wouldn't
toss
it be
that in a
nice?
secret in another cluster and annotate a package install to do something in another cluster. Yes, but it'll work.
It'll eventually get there. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. So we could provide that as sort of that patch, as a matter of fact, to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think it's spec template spec env, and then it's an array under there of key value pairs.
Cool. And it's clear that those environment variables are going to pass on through to subprocesses, right?
Yeah, anything under spec template spec is just created in the context of the user that the pod is running as. So it's just an environment variable. It's a system-wide environment variable.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Perfect. Thank you, Scott.
The only caveat here is that this will apply to all
Right.
the package installs that you create. They will all have, it's like a binary flip. They all have it or none. I don't think at this point kapp-controller allow you to set a particular, like if you want to do like a particular use experimental, like in a particular package install or something like that. I don't think it can provide that information as an environment variable.
Yeah, that makes sense, that this is intended to sort of feel a lot like a build flag where you're selecting a flavor of the executable to use. That'll be good context for us to provide when we're giving folks hints about if you want to kick the tires with a kapp-controller environment, to make sure that you're not doing this in production. This is experimental code and it'll apply to everything. Cool.
Yeah, because it's just additional flags that we can pass into YTT. We can't put anything before the YTT command that you could put it in like the package install, because you're just adding a suffix there, so you couldn't add an environment variable, I guess. If it was a
Right.
flag, it would be easier. But yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we did that, just footnote, we did that deliberately. This is considered sort of like a secondary interface, that if it changes, it's not part of like a supported API. Whereas the command line itself, we want to try and make that backwards compatible. So we don't want to put in flags and then remove them. So that's why we're doing it with an environment variable. Cool. Thanks, folks.
Thank you. as always, Scott, for your invaluable input and experience with this. Super helpful. Anything else to touch on for this topic, or if there's anything that folks want to talk about before we part ways? No, okay. So thanks everyone for joining this week's community meeting. For those that are attending KubeCon, excited to meet you in person. Scott, we'll see you in person. Super excited to meet you. And with that, thanks, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next community meeting. Take care.